Bob from Andover. Bob, you're on.
Bob in Andover.
Yeah.
Hey.
I'm just, I'm like very upset about all the bashing of Mac Jones.
Okay.
Look at his
Why?
stats. Look at his stats at Alabama. He had a good coach. He had a good offensive coordinator. He had great wide receivers. He had a great offensive line.
So he needs all that to be good then, and we shouldn't bash him? He needs all those things. He needs the best coaches and the best wide receivers and the best all these things, and we can't criticize him for that?
No, because you know what? He got handed a handful of crap.
All right, fair point, Bob. Thank you for the call. I will say this. So I pulled some stats from Mac. Mac right now, he's looking at a 65.8% completion rate, 2,300 yards about, 7 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, compared to last year. Obviously, it's
that's
not
like a Cam Newton season, what you just described.
Yeah, that's through 11 games. This is through 17 regular season games last year. 67.6% completion rate, 3,800 yards. This is the one that really gets me. So far through 11 games, he has 7 touchdowns. Last year, 22 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. 22 touchdowns, 3 times as many touchdowns. I think that just illustrates how bad they are in the red area. Let's go to Eddie in the car. Eddie.
Hey, how are you?
What's up, Eddie?
Hey, Eddie.
Hey, I'm sorry. Someone rattling my cage as I was looking at the phone. I apologize. Hey, I'm not a big fan of Mac Jones, okay? But with that being said, is Belichick kidding me? I mean, you give this kid not a whole lot to work with, okay? And you want him to make chicken salad out of peanut butter and jelly? And now you want to hold him accountable? You know what? I've been rooting against the Patriots a couple of years because I can't stand Belichick because I'm just bitter that he ran Brady off. But I'm watching this kid, Mac Jones, I'm going, you know what? He can throw the ball. He can throw the ball. You know what? He's not bad. He's not bad. Maybe he can do it. So why does Belichick have to keep screwing with this guy? Why?
Well, I would say this.
Thanks, Eddie.
Screwing with him as far as the decision to, bring Joe Judge and Matt Patricia was the beginning of the problems. Really, that was the beginning of the problems because if you thought that was going to work, you were nuts. So it doesn't. And now it's just too late to pull him. Like, it's too late for him to get rid of Matt Patricia, get rid of Joe Judge. And I guess if he really hated both of them, he would just fire him midseason. But who's going to replace him? Bill? Like, if he fires both those guys midseason.
You're saying it's too late to pull Matt Patricia and Joe Judge from those positions.
Yes. Who would be coaching them? Who's going to be in charge? And I do think, even if they call, the play's never going to be perfect. So you have to be an athlete and a quarterback yourself and sometimes make chicken salad out of peanut butter and jelly. That's part of your job description. You're supposed to do that. And if somebody's wide open, you're supposed to hit them. Like, if you can't do the
which
basic,
he was not doing
stuff,
in that game.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that is my point.
He had an awful game. That wasn't
game.
Joe Judge's fault. That
Nobody's
wasn't Matt
fault.
Patricia's
That
fault.
was his fault.
That
I'm
was
not
Mac
saying
Jones
that.
having a bad game.
Tell that to Eddie, who just called.
Yeah.
I agree with you in that aspect. But the big picture stuff, I think if you use, like, people are saying, well, he played terrible in that game. He should have been able to play really well against that defense. Well, he played good against Minnesota.
Right.
He had a really good game in Minnesota. Minnesota's defense isn't great. Maybe they're comparable. The Raiders and the Minnesota Vikings defense, they're comparable. He threw it all over the place.
He made throws in that game.
So all of a sudden, that's why I think, like, normally on a 17-game season, everyone, even the best that ever do it, are going to have a crappy game that they're not proud of.
Look at Tom Brady last week.
Well, even in his prime, you're going to have a game that you're not proud of. This one came at a terrible time because they needed him to play great, and he didn't. That maybe that's the bigger discussion is, like, when they needed you to play your best, you couldn't. Like, you couldn't just hit the basic stuff. Like, you got too caught up in all the minutia of the coaching staff and the plays and the system that you couldn't hit a corner route.
Does Mac have one game that he is proud of this year? Is there one game that Mac Jones should feel proud of this year? I don't think so. They lost the Minnesota game. They lost the Baltimore game. He had those interceptions. Those are the only 2 games where he made any throws. Does he have one game he can hang his hat on this year?
Well, I don't know. You
He
tell
was
me.
fine against Arizona.
I think Minnesota would be it.
Arizona.
Yeah, but they lost.
I know, but okay, so
I think it was
you're
probably
proud of.
Arizona, yeah, maybe Arizona.
Well, can't you be proud of the way you played, even though you lose? Like I know they tell you you're not supposed to feel that way, but I'm here to tell you, human nature kicks in, and you do
setting the bar pretty low.
I remember like being I was on a lot of crappy teams, and I got to the point where I was just happy if I played well. Because I know we were going to lose. I was just happy I played well.
Got my
and
stats.
I wasn't the reason. As long as I wasn't the reason for the loss, I felt damn good. I could walk into the building. I didn't have coaches looking for me. I wasn't nervous when they started the film because I know I didn't have any bad plays. I didn't jump off sides. I didn't drop any passes. I didn't miss any blocks. So the other guys, like, point the finger at those dudes. Like, not me.
So why are we on Mac Jones? So after that Raiders loss, Mac Jones stats 13 for 31, 112 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. But I don't think that those miserable stats even show how inaccurate he was, how just un-Mac Jones-like he was in terms of the mistakes that we see him make. It was like new mistakes. So today, Bill Belichick holds a press conference ahead of practice with all the media down at Gillette. We heard a little bit about breakfast and meetings.
The important stuff.
And that exciting things they've been doing over the last 2 days.
Go to the food pyramid.
And then there's this last question at the end. And this is coming out of, I think, a couple days of speculation about where Mac Jones and Bill Belichick's relationship is right now, because Mac has been on the field MFing his assistant coaches on the sideline for the past several games.
What Tommy Curran say yesterday? Making an enemy
He's
out of Bill
making
Belichick?
An enemy out of Belichick. So this is how the press conference ended.
Bill, is the plan to stick with Mac here at quarterback for the final 3 weeks?
Yeah, let's try to beat Cincinnati.
What was the question? I couldn't even hear it.
Is the plan to have Mac the starting quarterback going forward?
Bill, is the plan to stick with Mac here at quarterback for the final 3 weeks?
Man, somebody stepped all over that question.
That would be Stacy.
Okay.
Stacey's
Get him out of
like,
here. Get him out of here. No. So is the question to have Mac stay at the starting quarterback? And he couldn't answer? Yes?
What did he say? He
like
said
He blew the question.
Let's try to beat Cincinnati.
Oh, let's try to beat Cincinnati.
the plan is to try to beat Cincinnati.
Here's what stands out to me. You guys tell me how you feel about it. But I just go back to how many times he defended and stood up for Cam Newton. Even though Cam Newton was playing like crap, even though they were out of the playoffs, like we interviewed him every single Monday, and he would not give up his loyalty.
First question, Mike Reese, followed by Ben Volin.
Bill, I wanted to ask you about just the quarterback. You're going to stick with Cam next week at quarterback?
Yeah, great question, Mike. I'm really glad you asked that. Cam's our quarterback.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan. Because that was 2020, later in the season. Things are not going well. I want to say at that point in time, they were officially eliminated from the playoffs.
They were eliminated. That was Thursday Night Football, if I have the date correct.
Yeah.
But they got absolutely smoked by the LA Rams. It was like 41-7.
Yeah.
Oh, my
and,
God.
And I think Cam got benched in that game. And the obvious question to lead with is are you going to make a change at quarterback now? And unequivocally, Cam is our quarterback. Appreciate the question.
My question is, why won't he stand up for Mac? Why? I want like realistic answers. I don't want just like, why wouldn't he defend him? Why wouldn't he say, of course he's my starting quarterback? Why does he have to do this? We're just on to Cincinnati. Like, what has Mac done to him to not deserve, like, I don't know, his love and admiration?
So
Cam gets it?
Even before going there,
Cam kissed his ass, that's why.
I would ask you guys, is this more an FU to Mac? Because Mac is MFing the coaches on – it annoys me so much we can't say these words on radio. Is MFing the coaches on the sidelines and saying with us on radio, yeah, I can throw it 60 yards. Pfft, I got my own number. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I got the arm. That he is zagging a little bit and he's emoting a lot and he's frustrated, openly frustrated, and there's perhaps some insubordination going on? Or is this just once again Bill playing his – screw the media, screw your question, I'm not doing this Zappy versus Max song and dance again that I helped create early in the year?
So I feel like you're asking a question for my question.
Yeah. Because I
want you to answer my question first. Why won't he defend him?
I think it feeds back into that because I kind of think that he's just screwing with the media.
He
here.
just blew the Zappy conversation back open again.
Exactly.
I mean, that's exactly what he did.
Exactly.
If you wanted to say Mac's the quarterback and I'm not going to entertain these type of things, then he would have said that. He knows what to do. He knows what he's doing. He said the other day, Mac can't throw the ball 50 yards. He's no fan of Mac Jones right now is what it sounds like to me. It sounds like he's having no problem just saying whatever about Mac Jones. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be the starter. I don't know if he can throw the ball 50 yards. I don't know anything. I feel like there's not a lot of confidence coming from Bill Belichick towards Mac Jones at this particular moment. If there was, he'd say so. He'd say so, and he'd shut everybody down who even implied otherwise. And he's not doing that.
But why
I think that's it.
Why is he operating that way when technically they're still in playoff contention? You have the Jets now. We can see it on TV right now. Are going to start Zach Wilson in Thursday Night Football. Like, you are still technically in it. And not so you have to think that Belichick has a goal there, but also to see what you have with this quarterback, unless Belichick has already totally emotionally moved on from him.
I think Arcand hit it. I feel like that's it, Mego. I feel like there's this, because I've played for this team, covered them forever, and Tom Brady defending him, Mac Jones, Cam Newton defending him.
He's messed with Brady's head enough as well.
Jimmy Garoppolo defended him. Hoyer defended him. Every single quarterback that comes through here gets the utmost respect and protection. Yet this guy, who probably needs it the most out of all of them, do we really feel like Cam Newton's, you were willing to worry about Cam Newton's feelings after he won an MVP, played in the Super Bowl, got all this money, achieved a bunch of stuff, had commercials. That's the guy you choose to defend.
Cam's our quarterback.
But Mac is the guy that you choose to play mind games with, who I feel like is probably sick of the mind games and just wants to be, I don't know.
I think Mac's sick of everything.
Yeah, I agree
mind
with
games,
you.
the coaches, the play, everybody. I think Mac's over this team right now. And
If
wouldn't you be?
Can you blame him?
No.
Yeah, but if Bill still must think that Mac needs to be taught a lesson. That's what I think it is. You haven't arrived yet. You're not. We're not. I don't really back this whole yelling and screaming on the sideline and making my coordinators who I picked look stupid. I'm going to teach you a lesson. I do think there's still a lot of that in him. If he feels like he needs to teach you a lesson, that he needs to knock you down a couple pegs, then this is how he's going to do it. Obviously do it in team meetings. You're probably going to undress you in a team meeting too, so everybody knows that everybody's is going to get ripped. Not just I'm not going to protect the stars. That's got to be it. Otherwise, you would have just said any other team and any other head coach would say, yeah, he's my quarterback. You mentioned the Jets. Robert Saleh, real honest, real direct. Especially when he had to bench Zach Wilson. And then even when they asked him the week after if he was going to come back and play again, he said, we'll see. Not yet. He says, not yet. No, he's not ready yet. Joe Flacco's going to be the backup. Then White got hurt, and then he said, you know what, I'm going to elevate Zach Wilson.
You think Bill's trying to cut the head off the snake right now in terms of what's happening in the locker room? Perhaps Devin McCourty, Matthew Slater, these dependable leader guys turning and saying, hey, Mac's got to use his voice. We're not going to be here forever. You got to pass the torch, and somebody's got to take the reins on this. And then Bill sees how that goes, and it's his assistant coaches now who some friends of Bill are even calling out in the national media, saying they got to go. And suddenly all the heat is going away from Mac and going to Bill and the people that Bill appointed.
Do you think every player should be coached differently when it comes to their emotional?
Absolutely.
Same
a smart
with me.
coach does that.
Especially young quarterbacks.
Me too.
Yeah.
A smart coach is tough, puts a chip on the shoulder of the people who need it, is soft and kid gloves with the egos that need that. Mm-hmm. It's all about the end game that you get out of it.
I feel like at any point in time, I think there was in the past, you could do the broad stroke with because you had a really strong locker room, you had veteran players, you had a really strong core of leadership. I said it yesterday. You couldn't walk through those locker rooms without tripping over a leader. Even the guys that weren't the captains, they're all leaders. They were all just accountable.
Did you just say I'm such a patriot?
Yes, I did, Teddy. Yes, I did. So, in my point, it's I don't like the angle with this. That's me personally. I don't like it. I would do it differently.
You think he's mismanaging Mac here?
Yes, I do. I think if I'm Mac, I want to vote of confidence. You know what? I know you don't like to do it, but in this, just like you would change game plans in the middle of a game, you would sit there and okay, this isn't working. Let's do this. I think you should do it with your players.
Yeah.
I think he needs it. I feel like he needs Like a different type of motivation and encouragement is what I think.
If I'm Mac, I'm thinking it's 50-50. I'm benched this week, right? The way he answered that question, right? If I'm starting and I know that I'm starting, Bill's going to say so when he's asked a question like that, and he didn't. If I'm Mac, I'm really wondering, am I going to start this week or not?
Let's try to beat Cincinnati.
Yeah, I don't get why. Does he feel like he's going to be like since all the players are treated equally? What if he asked if Ramondre Stevenson was going to play? You think is Ramondre Stevenson, is he going to play?
It wouldn't even be a question because it's never been a question unless it was
Right.
injury related.
But yeah, if Harris is back or something, he'd spin it into that. Well, Damian Harris maybe
And you
coming
could
back,
have
he may
said
not
the
be,
same
yeah.
thing for the quarterback position until the Chicago game.